We all know criminals have some guts to commit the crimes that they do. They either have guts or they lack brain tissue. Some criminals reach far beyond, making them some of the smartest criminals in history. Hello everyone, welcome back to Criminal. Today we dive into the stories of some of the smartest criminals to have ever existed. Andrew Cunanan. Born in August of 1969 in California, Cunanan was the youngest amongst four other siblings. He had quite the mixture of nationalities. His dad was Filipino-American and his mom was Italian-American. Andrew was just a normal kid. He was going to Bonita Vista Middle School, and after a while his dad sent him to the Bishop School, an independent day school located in the affluent La Jolla neighborhood of San Diego. There, Cunanan met his lifelong best friend, Elizabeth Liz Coate. At school, he was remembered as being bright and very talkative and tested with an IQ of 147. As he grew, he became different, and by different, I mean he went nuts. From being a prolific liar to changing his appearance to whatever he felt, he even went as far as identifying as gay after he began to have, alone time with wealthy older men. All that aside, he even majored in American history. When he was 19, his dad left the family and went to the Philippines to avoid an arrest, leaving Andrew's mom in charge of the family. Now, his mom was a proud religious Catholic woman, and after her son started frequenting gay clubs and restaurants, she found out, and let's say she was not happy. While the two were in an argument, Andrew ended up pushing her to a wall, which ended up dislocating her shoulder. Later, he became so antisocial he had no remorse, no empathy, he didn't care about anything. As he became an adult, all of you might think that he became more mature and started seeing things from a different angle. Wrong. He continued befriending wealthy older men and also reportedly began creating violent pornography. Cunanan is also believed to have been dealing drugs, including prescription opioids, cocaine, and marijuana. Now here is where things take a turn. He started to have influence with a lot of people, some of whom he killed, putting him on the list of serial killers. Andrew's killings began in Minneapolis in 1997, starting with his friends Jeffrey Trail and David Madsen. After an argument with Jeffrey in his own apartment, Andrew stole his gun and took it to Madsen's place. Soon after, Jeffrey arrived, and as cold as Andrew was, he beat him to death with a hammer. After sticking together after Jeffrey's death, Andrew and David started cruising around in David's Jeep and having lunch together. Things seemed to be okay until one morning David's body was found on the east shore of Rush Lake near Rush City, Minnesota, with gunshot wounds to the head and back from a .40 caliber Taurus PT-100 semi-automatic pistol Cunanan had taken from Trail's home. Now that's what I call a backstabber, or a backshooter anyways. On May 3rd, Andrew drove to Chicago, Illinois, where his next victim, Lee Albert Miglin, was living. He was a prominent real estate developer. He bound Miglin's hands and feet and wrapped his head with duct tape, then stabbed him more than 20 times with a screwdriver, slit his throat with a hacksaw, and stole his car. After just a short time, on May 9th, he shot William Reese. He was not the celebrity of the year, he was a humble cemetery caretaker. Later that day, when Reese did not return home for dinner, his wife visited the cemetery to check on him and found the caretaker's office door ajar with the radio playing inside. She then called the police, who found Reese shot in the head by the same Taurus pistol Cunanan used to murder David Madsen. On June 12th, Andrew Cunanan was listed on the FBI 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list. Around 8:45 a.m. on July 15, 1997, Cunanan murdered 50-year-old Gianni Versace on the front steps of his mansion in Miami Beach. Versace was returning from a visit to the News Cafe, where he picked up magazines when he was shot once in the back of the head and once in the left cheek with the same Taurus pistol Cunanan used to murder Madsen and Reese. On July 23, 1997, Andrew Cunanan committed suicide with the same gun he used to kill all those victims. Frank William Abagnale, Jr. I think that most of us saw the movie of Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can. That movie was the autobiography of Frank, which he co-wrote. Okay. Now, he was born in Bronx, New York City in April 1948. When he was 15, his parents divorced and he moved in with his dad and his new stepmom. Frank claims his first victim was his father, who gave him a gasoline credit card and a truck, and was ultimately liable for a bill amounting to $3,400. He was only 15 at the time. For his crime, he was sent to a reform school in Westchester County. He tried the U.S. Navy and he was arrested for larceny in Mount Vernon. After that, he started playing cop, and he went as far as entering an apartment in Scarsdale where he used a toy gun and a paper badge to investigate a teenage female. He was arrested, and after court, he was sent to a psychiatric institute in Grasslands. Then he was arrested for stealing a car from his neighbor. He really was a menace. But then, things changed. After being released, he started impersonating a pilot. He bought a uniform with the money from stolen checks, but he was arrested soon after and was sent to jail for 2 years. But still, after that, he again thought that being a pilot was a good idea to get rich. After he was released, he disguised himself as a TWA pilot and moved to Louisiana. He used the technique of manipulation to become friends with a local minister and even talked his way into the house of a music teacher. He was caught stealing checks but somehow avoided arrest, and he flew to Europe. He didn't make a good impression in Europe either. After a short time in France, he was arrested for a car theft. And then he went to Sweden, and even there he was convicted for fraud and forgery. After prison time, he was deported to the USA. After returning to the United States, 22-year-old Abagnale dressed in a pilot's uniform and traveled around college campuses, passing bad checks and claiming he was there to recruit stewardesses for Pan Am. Don't get me wrong, but he knew his ways into manipulating people. He was making a lot of fraud money by cashing checks, so much so that one of them was equal to $11,225.45 in today's worth. Now that's a star right there, folks. Moving on. Theodore John Kaczynski, a.k.a. the Unabomber. He was born in Chicago on May 22, 1942. He was a smart kid. Administrators described him as healthy and well-adjusted. His IQ was at 167, but he skipped school after the 6th grade. After that, Kaczynski attended Evergreen Park Community High School, where he excelled academically. He played the trombone in the marching band and was a member of the mathematics, biology, coin, and German clubs. And from all these, boy, was he good at math, one thing I always failed at. He graduated at age 15, and after high school he went to Harvard University. Now this is a smart criminal. But why? He had all the success. He even took his master's and doctoral degrees in mathematics in 1964 and 1967. Soon after, he moved to Montana, where he developed very good sets of wilderness skills. His dad was a big fan of him and paid him quite a lot of visits over time until he was diagnosed with lung cancer and shot himself. Now let's get to the good stuff. Between 1978 and 1995, Kaczynski mailed or hand-delivered a series of increasingly sophisticated bombs that cumulatively killed 3 people and injured 23 others. 16 bombs were attributed to Kaczynski. While the bombing devices varied widely through the years, many contained the initials FC, which Kaczynski later said stood for Freedom Club. He purposely left misleading clues in the devices and took extreme care in preparing them to avoid leaving fingerprints. And the fingerprints found on some of the devices did not match those found on letters attributed to Kaczynski. Kaczynski's first mail bomb was directed at Buckley Christ, a professor of materials engineering at Northwestern University. The package was returned to Christ, who was suspicious because he had not sent it, so he contacted campus police. Officer Terry Marker opened the package, which exploded and caused minor injuries. In 1979, a bomb was placed in the cargo hold of American Airlines Flight 444, a Boeing 727 flying from Chicago to Washington, D.C. A faulty timing mechanism prevented the bomb from exploding, but it released smoke, which caused the pilots to carry out an emergency landing. Kaczynski sent his next bomb to the president of United Airlines, Percy Wood. Wood received cuts and burns over most of his body. In 1981, a package bearing the return address of a Brigham Young University professor of electrical engineering, Leroy Wood Burnson, was discovered in a hallway at the University of Utah. In late 1985, a nail and splinter-loaded bomb in the parking lot of a computer store in Sacramento, California, killed 38-year-old owner of the store, Hugh Scruton. In 1993, after a 6-year break, Kaczynski mailed a bomb to the home of Charles Epstein from the University of California, San Francisco. Epstein lost several fingers upon opening the package. In the same weekend, Kaczynski mailed a bomb to David Gelernter, a computer science professor at Yale University. Gelernter lost sight in one eye, hearing in one ear, and a portion of his right hand. In 1994, Burson Marsteller executive Thomas J. Mosser was killed after opening a mail bomb sent to his home in New Jersey. In a letter to the New York Times, Kaczynski wrote he had sent the bomb because of Mosser's work repairing the public image of Exxon after the Exxon Valdez oil spill. This was followed by the 1995 murder of Gilbert Brent Murray, president of the timber industry lobbying group California Forestry Association, by a mail bomb addressed to previous President William Dennison, who had retired. Because of his mysterious actions, which led to a lot of injuries and sometimes casualties, the FBI put a $1 million reward for information that could lead to his arrest. On April 3, 1996, the Unabomber was arrested in his cabin. A search revealed a cache of bomb components, 40,000 handwritten journal pages that included bomb-making experiments, descriptions of the Unabomber crimes, a homemade improvised firearm, and one live bomb. He was sentenced to a death trial, but he somehow managed to become mentally sick to avoid the death panel. He served life sentence time until June 10, 2023, where he was found dead in his cell after hanging himself with a shoelace from a handicap rail. There you have it, folks. Some of the smartest criminals to have ever lived. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.